All right, everybody, I've got my box of goodies in. So these are all GFS parts ordered off of guitarfetish.com. First is the Xtrem. It's their Bigsby-style vibrato system with these spinning tension rollers. And it comes with 2 springs, which I'm assuming are each different tensions. Next is the roller bridge. It's got roller saddles, and it's going to replace the tune-o-matic on the SG to help with tuning. Also to help with the tuning, we've got new tuners because the old ones had to go. These are Wilkinson brand 3 on a side. Next, we've got 2 DPDT switches, and we're going to use these to wire up the coil splitting and the phase reverse. We needed to do switches and not push-pull pots because the push-pull pots would not fit in the back of the cavity. It was too shallow, so switches it is. So for pickups, we've got a matched set of GF'Trons. This is the Guitar Fetish version of Filtertrons. These are the hard version, so they've got Alnico 5 magnets, and they're just a little bit overwound. So Guitar Fetish sells the pickup itself separately, the trim rings separately. Now these trim rings are spaced to fit in a humbucker slot, and they're staggered, so they'll be the correct height for a Les Paul or SG or any Gibson. The little metal plate on the back is how the pickup mounts to the trim ring. It's also separate. So I'm going to do this video in 2 parts. The first one, we're going to do hardware. All the hardware is going to get replaced on this one. And on the second one, electronics. So let's get started. Okay, let's move on to installing the switches. A good idea for installing hardware when you have limited space like this is to place your hardware where you want it and make sure you have enough room to work with. And these are small enough switches, and there's only 1 volume and 1 tone pot, so we've got plenty of space to work with, but I still got to make sure that I place them where I want them. So on the face, I would like them to sit right about there. About an inch or so between them. And I think that still gives me enough room for the pickup selectors. You still got enough room for your volume, maybe a little over this way. Yeah, they'll be out of the way there, and the Bigsby will go right here. So we want them a little closer to the tone knob if we've got space for it. Let's see what we've got space for. All right, and the tone knob is where we've got some extra space, so that will work. Let's move the ground wire. Can't move that. So we want them to sit right about there, I think. I think that'll work. So, take my Sharpie. I'm just going to put it right in the middle right there. Right in the middle right there. Cool. A quick note about woodworking, because I know woodworking kind of throws off a lot of folks, especially when it comes to guitars. You don't have to be afraid to work on the wood. You just have to know how to do it right. So when we're drilling things, don't ever start with the size bit that you need to end up with. We're going to work up to it. So I'm actually going to start with the smallest bit I have. It's a 16-inch bit, and I'm going to go all the way through, and then we're going to gradually increase the size of the bits until we get up to, I think it's going to be a 1/4 inch. It might be 3/16, so we'll get to 3/16 and see if the hardware fits, and if not, we'll do a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go through this as straight as I can. You can go slow. It's really thin right here. Okay. That is just about where I want them. That's going to be great. So you notice we've got a little bit of this veneer popping up right there. Right now, that doesn't matter because these are just small holes and we're gonna size them up. But we don't want to go through the back as we increase the size of the bits because you'll end up cracking this veneer, cracking the finish off. Now, if you're gonna do a full restoration on a guitar or something, whatever, you can sand it down and refinish it, but I don't want to do that. So for the rest of this, I'm going to go through the top, and that'll eliminate, or it should eliminate, poking the veneer off, because it's just glued to the wood, and as you push a bit through there, sometimes you'll push it off the wood. So we're going to go through the top. Alright, that's the 3/16. That still looks a little small. Probably going to go up to 1/4 inch. Yep, that is just too small, so 1/4 inch. And you'll see, as I pull the drill back, you keep the bit spinning. It keeps it from binding on the wood, and it'll further help prevent that veneer from popping up. Let's see how that is. All right, that's a good fit. Ah, see? Right there. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. So you see that wood popping up right there, wood popping up there. That's why you don't drill out from the back through your face. You don't do that on finished wood. It's okay on raw because you can sand it and finish it how you want, but we're working with a finished wood, so you want to protect the finished side. So I've got one installed, and I'm going to show you putting the other one in. You'll notice we have a couple different washers. This one is kind of toothed. That's going to go here. When you screw it down, that toothed side is going to hold the hardware in place against the wood so that it doesn't turn over time. Sometimes if you get pots or knobs or stuff that turn too much, maybe you have a loose screw, maybe you don't have one of these toothed washers. But that's going to go in first. And then hold it in place. This next washer goes over it. And then the nut. And it's useful to have a socket with you to tighten these down. These are using a 5/16. So hold the back of the switch to keep it from turning. And just tighten it down. Hand tightens fine. It doesn't need to be tighter than that. Switches are installed. Okay, so we've switched out the stock Tune-O-Matic for the roller bridge. I took out the stop bar. I'm not really going to worry about taking these anchors out. It doesn't bother me aesthetically, and I mean, you can tell that the Bigsby isn't going to line up with those holes anyway, so the only option is to pull them out, fill it in with wood filler, sand it down, finish it, and honestly I think it's just going to look better with those post sockets still in there. It's all chrome, so whatever. So I've got this pretty much positioned where I think it's going to be good. I've got a straight edge here, and I lined up. You've got the slots for the ball socket of the end of the strings back here, and I've lined up each of the rollers with those as best I can. And just straight out, you can see that the roller on the Bigsby to the bridge roller to the pickup is a pretty straight line there on both sides. So we've got it lined up with the pickups and the bridge well. It's even on the bottom here, it looks straight. So I think this is good. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. 1, 2, there's one up here. Oh, I'm shaking. 3, and I can't reach that bottom one, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. Okay, let's talk real quick about the drilling technique for this. So here's our screw for the vibrato system. The threaded area is about 1 inch long, so I have taped off just under 1 inch here. This is my depth gauge. I'm not going to go past the tape when I drill into this, so that I don't drill too far because I don't want to go through the wood. And the way that you choose your bit size is you put your screw behind the bit. You want to, let me see if I can focus that. You want to just see the threads behind the screw, if that makes sense. Like, the diameter of your screw needs to be the same size or just a little bit smaller than the diameter of the core of the screw. And you don't want to have it as wide as the threads, because if it's wide as the threads, then you've drilled out everything that this was going to stick into, and then you're in real trouble. You also really need to drill pilot holes for these, because this is a fairly thick screw. If you try to just put this straight in there, you will split this wood. So drilling it is, and we want to go very straight up and down, and take your time. So let's make sure I got that size right. That is going in and it's snug. That's good, that's what we want. So I'm going to get almost all the way down on this and not tighten it up. You can see how it still moves. I am not going to tighten it until I've got all 3 of these screws that we just drilled out in place, because you're never going to drill exactly where you need to. So you want to leave some space for stuff to move around a little bit until you have all of them in place and you can really tighten down. And again, I don't want to over tighten these. This guitar isn't made out of super hard wood or anything, so if you just keep tightening, there's a chance that you're just gonna wear out the threading and the wood, and then it'll just rip out. So now that we've got those 3 installed, man, that's on there good, yeah. We're gonna go ahead and drill out the slot for the last one, and I'm not too worried about depth on this. Because it's not going as deep. Yeah, man, that looks good. And it comes with some felt pads here, so I guess I'll stick a felt pad on the bottom of there just so it doesn't do that if I really slam it down. And throw one of these springs in here. That feels good. Okay, let's start by removing the old tuners. And looks like this assembly just comes out. Okay. Well, that's an issue I didn't foresee. We've got these don't come off. It looks like I might just be able to put a screwdriver in there and push it out though. Okay, well, I popped the little grommet out. Got one of the longer bits that I have, a square head, and just had to kind of push against each side of it from the back side and wiggle it out little by little, and it'll just pop out. And if I ding up the back a little bit, I'm not too concerned about it because I'm going to put another tuner over it. It's not like anybody's going to see it. But there's another issue. These, as you can see, the shaft is one diameter all the way down, and these are not. So it is not just going to be a drop-in. We're going to have to drill these holes out and make them a little bigger. Okay, I've decided not to drill out the headstock for those Wilkinsons. We saw the joint that was on that headstock last time, and I don't want to risk any damage. So I'm going to send the Wilkinsons back and instead order a set of vintage size Keystone Tuners. So when those come in, I'll install those. I'll include footage of that on the next video, which is going to be installing the new pickups and wiring the switches that we installed. So next mod video will be electronics, and I'll include the tuners on that. But between this and the next, I want to do something. I want to talk about capacitors in your tone circuit, specifically bumblebees, and why you should or should not replace the capacitors in your tone circuit. So that'll be fun and interesting, and maybe some fights will happen. We'll see. All right, thanks.